So I get asked this one question quite a lot in comments, which is, where do I buy Duel Masters cards? So I figured I'd make a video talking about this, namely where to buy Duel Masters cards in 2024. First of all, there is this video from the Australian Duel Masters channel named Where to Buy Duel Masters Cards in 2023. I'll link it in the description, you should definitely give it a watch if you haven't. But I feel like that video by now is maybe a little bit outdated and maybe even slightly incomplete, so I figured it might still be helpful for some of you for me to share my thoughts as well. Let's get the obvious places out of the way first. Number 1. eBay. eBay is probably the largest market for Duel Masters cards out there, and it's a good starting place to look for cards. That said, it is a bit of a wild west where you need to take everything with a grain of salt. Since everyone and their mother knows about eBay, this is oftentimes the only place inexperienced buyers check, and as such some cards may be listed and purchased at crazy high prices. I mean, there's a Bombazar there listed for $2,000, so you really need to be careful when shopping there. But if you are careful and patient and check the site regularly, sometimes you might find yourself a good deal or two. To get a better idea of what I'm talking about, this Melnia promo sold for $10, but just 2 days earlier one sold for $33, and there's some listed for even higher prices. So eBay, good source, but caution is required. Number 2. Duel Masters Trade. For a while now, duelmasterstrade.com has been the place to go for Duel Masters cards. They had many different cards in stock over the years, which you could neatly filter through and usually at far better prices than what you would find on eBay. I myself have placed many orders on this site and bought a good amount of cards from them. Now, I'm speaking in past tense because unfortunately, as of making this video, Duel Masters Trade is in the process of getting rid of excess stock and at least temporarily shutting down. So depending on when you are watching this, the site may or may not be up, but I thought I'd mention it anyway since it has been such an important source of Duel Masters cards up until just recently. So with these two out of the way, let's get into the more obscure ways of finding Duel Masters cards. Starting off with number 3, Facebook groups. And I know there's at least one person watching this going, who the flip uses Facebook in 2024? But it turns out lots of people sell their cards there, and usually for much better prices than you could find in many other places. For example, I once got a set of 5 Gigazard from a seller there for $25 a piece, and on eBay they currently go for over $50. Here's a few Facebook groups I would recommend. First, there is Duel Masters Unplugged. I'd say this is probably the most active one. Then there is Duel Masters Unplugged Trade/Sales, which is different from the previously mentioned Duel Masters Unplugged group. And then there's also Duel Masters TCG Marketplace. Obviously you won't find a constant stock of cards here as they only pop up every so often, but if you monitor these groups constantly, you're bound to find a great deal or two once in a while. Number 4. Duel Masters Communities. Being part of DM communities unsurprisingly helps a lot with finding Duel Masters cards. You'll often find people there willing to trade or sell their cards. And I don't necessarily mean local communities, though those definitely help. You can, for example, join the Duel Masters Discord server, which has a buying and selling thread, and or the International Duel Masters Cup Discord server, which is primarily focused on monthly online tournaments, but also has a trading thread which might help you find the cards you need. I'll link those in the description below. Another good example of DM communities would be the Duel Masters subreddit. It's not as active as other sources, but every so often a good deal will pop up in there. Number 5. Services or stores from Asia. As some of you might know, Duel Masters is still very much alive in Japan, and as such it should come as no surprise that many DM cards are being traded on Japanese marketplaces. Unfortunately, most of them don't ship outside of Japan, but there's workarounds. For instance, one site I cannot recommend enough is fromjapan.co.jp. They act as a proxy for many different Japanese marketplaces, and they can combine all your shipping orders together and ship them to you. Of course, most listings are in Japanese and for Japanese cards, so you have to be smart about your searches. For example, you could search for Duel Masters Eigo, which is just Duel Masters English in Japanese, and you might end up finding some deals. For example, I got these 2 Plasma Chasers for less than $4 and this Helion promo for about $6. Make sure to get multiple things at once though to justify the shipping cost. Side note, this is an excellent place if you are looking to buy Japanese Duel Masters cards, which many people like to do seeing as they are cheaper than their English counterparts. Just make sure to search by their Japanese name, which you can take from the wiki. For example, an English Miraculous Plague sells for about $200, but you can get a Japanese one for like $1. Another example of such marketplace is Carousel from Singapore. Unfortunately, I don't know of any proxy services from Singapore, but coming back to the DM community's point from before, you can always ask people there for help, and you might be lucky enough to find someone who will. I think that covers most of the best ways to buy Duel Masters cards in 2024. I'll give a quick shout out to local game stores and flea markets. While I can't call these stable sources for Duel Masters cards, it never hurts to check them if they are available, as you might just be pleasantly surprised about what you will find. I hope this video has been helpful to people watching. If it has been, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more Duel Masters content. I wish you have an amazing day and see you next time.